فاصبر صبرا جميلا, which is the next ayah, ayah number 5. فاصبر, command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and to the ummah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, that one ayah like this is enough to change the entire ummah. And at the same time, it shows how the ummah is in state of ignorance except for those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon them, with regards to one ayah of the Quran, which is فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا. So be patient with a good patience. Not the sabr, not the patience that people defines it. Everybody has their own ideas of what sabr is. But the sabr here is a special one. Is a one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly states what is it, which is sabr jameel, beautiful sabr. A sabr is bitter, a sabr is tough. To be patient come from the plant, which is the cactus. It's called sabr. So if you eat it, it's all thorns and it's bitter. So that's what sabr is. Patience is not a beautiful thing physically to the people. When someone is in extreme pain, right, and he's being patient, that means he's not the most luxurious person on the face of earth. He's going through suffering, but he's being patient with the suffering that he's going through. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it sabrun jameel. فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا, a beautiful patience. Beautiful, jameel, beautiful. And al-jameel, inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most beautiful and He loves what is beautiful. Right? And what's beauty to the human beings? It's something that looks good, tastes good, feels good, right? Things like this. So how can the two opposites be together? A sabr, which is bitter and it's tough and things like that, to be given the attribute of al-jamal. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, as Yaqub alayhi salam, he said. So that's why it's an obligation knowledge to know what is the meaning of a sabr al-jameel for the person to practice it. We are commanded to have a beautiful sabr, to have a sabr jameel. So what does he say here? Fasbir, and the fa here, therefore, right, as what's mentioned before. So when they say this fa is the tafri' is like a junction, meaning that add or bring all of what's mentioned before, then what comes afterward as a result of this is this verse. فَاصْبِرْ, therefore, فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا. Ay, he says, اصبر, be patient, على دعوتك, addressing the Prophet ﷺ, facing the disbelievers and their mockery and their evil actions and so on. Be patient upon your da'wah, upon your inviting them to the haqq, to your people, لِقَوْمِكَ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا, a beautiful sabr, beautiful patience. That means لا تضجر فيه ولا أو لا ضجر فيه ولا ملل. الضجر, even the word is tough to say, ضجر, is when someone can't take it anymore. He's so disturbed, he can't deal with it, basically. So much disturbed. And ولا ملل, and no boring in it. Never give up, never to be disturbed. And this is, you can imagine, of course, what the Prophet ﷺ went through. He wants what is best for them. He knows what is waiting for them. And he's calling them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doesn't want anything from them. And they return that with physical torture, with raging war against the Prophet ﷺ, torturing the companions radiallahu anhum, mockery, words-wise, psychological war, physical, all kinds of means that they have to harm the Prophet ﷺ, trying to kill him and the companions radiallahu anhum. And with all of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering him to continue with his mission and never to give up and never to be disturbed with what they do. And this is a sabr al-jameel, a beautiful patience. لا ضجر فيه ولا ملل بل استمر على أمر الله. But rather continue upon the command of Allah, the amr of Allah. وَادْعُ عِبَادَهُ إِلَى تَوْحِيدِهِ, and invite his ibad, his people, to the tawheed of Allah, to the oneness of worship of Allah. And that's the highest level of all actions. And that's why the messengers of Allah are the best of all human beings, because they fulfill the tawheed upon themselves and they invite others to it. And the same thing for those who follow the ways of the messengers of Allah. وَلَا يَمْنَعْكَ عَنْهُمْ مَا تَرَى مِنْ عَدَمٍ قِيَادِهِمْ, and do not make their عدم الانقياد, for them not submitting themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make you stop or deprive you from continuing the da'wah. Any human being, you invite someone to something, he says, no, okay, thank you very much, and he turn away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to the Prophet والسلام, do not make these reactions from them, make you turn away from it. وَعَدَمْ رَغْبَتِهِمْ, and them not having the zeal, or they don't want to listen. Nowadays, because of our weakness, if someone shows interest, mashallah, the ones that have so much himma and zeal among us, they would, invite them because they have the zeal. But what about those who turns away? Who invites them still and convey the message to them. And what the people of Quraysh did to the Prophet ﷺ, and he continued just to invite them to Allah, not forcing them for anything. فإن في الصبر على ذلك خيرا كثيرا, because indeed the sabr, to be upon this patient, there's so much goodness, and this is what happened to the Prophet ﷺ, the perfect goodness and the perfect outcome as a result of the patience, and for oneself and for others, with this beautiful sabr. And so in the context of it, with regards to his people and what they oppose the Prophet ﷺ. And the sabr al-jamil is general, and it's true at all levels of a sabr. So in every action, so not just in the da'wah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's in every action or anything that requires sabr. It's required for the person to have sabrun jamil. So, and as mentioned by Yaqub alayhi salam, he said that when he was faced with these trials in his life and he's deprived of his own son, he said, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, beautiful patience. What is the beautiful patience? Is الصبر الذي لا جزع فيه ولا شكوى لغير الله. The sabr that does not have any complaints except to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what a sabr al-jamil. Not a sabr that a person will go complain to this person and that person and this institution and these governments and these people. Complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Express your complaints to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Don't complain to anyone. This is a sabr al-jamil. And that's different than asking for justice. It's a different situation. Yes, a person has the right to ask for his own, for justice to be served for him. There's nothing, it's not shirk, it's not haram, right? But again, the beautiful sabr, and everything has its own context of things, of course. But as-sabr al-jamil, this is when a person, as Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, one of the ways to describe as-sabr al-jamil هو أن يكون صاحب المصيبة في القوم لا يدرى من هو. That the one that has the calamity among the people, nobody knows that this is the one. So he's the worst of his people, but no one knows anything about him. Because he's not complaining day and night that he's suffering from this and he's having this and even, right? Because he's making this beautiful sabr. This is فاصبر صبرا جميلا. فاصبر صبرا جميلا, and the sabr here is with ilm, with knowledge, of course, so that it's not a passive action. It's according to one's capacity. If a person doesn't have the physical means to do something, then be patient till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you. So فاصبر صبرا جميلا.